Well, hi everybody, and welcome to the webinar. Really excited about today's call and really excited to be looking at time management. You know, I know there's going to be some people who are going to be starting the call at 3 minutes past the hour, but no, starting it on time and making sure that everything works from here. You know, time management's an interesting one. When we sit down and take a look at it, it's not really about time that we manage. Time stands still. Time has always stood still. Our goal here today is not to really look at time, but to look at you and how you make the decisions around how you use your time. How well you use or don't use your time determines the level of success that you get. And so it's very easy to say I ran out of time, but basically I ran out of time is like saying, you know, it's the adult version of the dog ate my homework. It doesn't work. It's not true. It's that you didn't allocate the time necessary to get the task done, or you didn't plan it well enough, or so on and so on and so on. So today we're going to take a look at time from several different perspectives and start to see how it is we can actually get everything done in business and life, how it is that we can do that. You know, with the way the world works today, it's not like you're getting less and less options. It's not like you're getting less and less potential things that you can do. The number of things you can do is getting higher and higher. The biggest challenge is a very simple one. How do we actually make sure that we're using our time to the best of our ability? And if we can get to use the time from the best of our ability, then things work well. So let's first of all talk about how we can use our time the best here today. Very simply put, hopefully you'll treat this like an actual seminar. You know, let's take a look at some of the reasons you're here. Let's take a look at some of the things that you're aiming to learn, I guess. You know, time and time management, I guess that number 3 point on here is probably one of the ones that I like to think of most important. Wanting to work less hours. You know, we don't want less hours in our day. We just want to be working less of it and enjoying more of it, I guess, especially as a business owner. You know, one of the things that I look at as a business person is how do I actually get more done with less effort by myself? How do I get more things completed? And, you know, getting your staff to do it, getting yourself done, but all in all, we're looking at it. So getting the most out of this hour and learning the most is pretty simple. Turn off, well, you know, you can Facebook or Twitter that you're on a webinar learning and all of that sort of stuff, so get that out of the way. But then get a pen and paper ready and get ready to take notes, because what we're going to do today is actually a full live seminar. I have now only 56 minutes to cover off just over an hour and a half's material. So we're going to have to move quick. You're going to have to take plenty of notes and that sort of thing. Now, doing webinars is something that, well, for many years I didn't do them, and I didn't do the online training and stuff. I would love doing live events. And with building Action Coach around the world and building other companies, restaurants, you know, all of the things that we're involved in, it became apparent to me that as much as I love teaching and writing books and coaching business owners, and now that Action Coach has opened in Egypt, we're now in 52 countries doing this, and I try and get to at least 15 to 20 of these of the countries we trade in every year. It became very apparent to me that I wasn't going to actually be able to just keep traveling all the time and still have a family life and still have a level of reality. So I started looking at webinars, and what tipped me over the edge was in late 2009. I think I'd finished seminars in 16 countries. I'd been to 87 different cities that year. And, well, put it very bluntly, when I got shot at and carjacked, I decided this isn't the way. I would rather go to webinars and online learning as much as possible. And then I realized just how many more people I could reach. Like today, I take a look at all of the countries that are represented here on our webinar, and the people from so many different cities, it's not funny. But when you sit down and take a look at it, this is by far a better way to learn. Online learning is the way of the future. And it's much cheaper too, because I always told people, you don't actually have to pay me that much for the seminar. I would do the seminar for free, basically, but you've got to pay me a lot of money to go and travel and stay in hotels and, you know, be away from my family. That's sort of what the big money is. These webinars, I'm in my home in Australia right now. I'm with my family, having a great time. But I get to do some work for the day, and I get to teach people all over the world, and I'm sure you're working from either your office or your home learning here today. So So how do we do this? Take notes, get ready, make as many notes as you can and treat this like a live seminar. I guess that's the simplest and easiest way to put it, but if you do that, then you'll get real results out of today, getting things into practice. My live webinars and now my online business school. If you haven't checked out my online business school, make sure you do. In fact, Eve will have an offer for you later today, my online business school. Hey, you can get into it for just $97, which is, you'd be crazy not to. Right up to the lifetime membership proposals, it's just under $1,000. That's right, it's not $20,000 or $30,000 for business school, it's only $1,000, Mike, because it's online. Well, let's get back to today's topic, though. How do we actually get everything done, everything you want done in your day? And that's an interesting anomaly. See, most people, when I sit down and start talking to them how to get everything done in a day, is different to how to get everything you want done in a day. Most people, unfortunately, try and do way too much because they're trying to do things that other people want them to do rather than just things they want. So what is time management? Well, it's not even time management. Time management is not time management because time marches on. The clock doesn't change. You can't stop time is basically the thing. And if you look at it in life, you don't get that much time. In life, you get 4,000 weeks, approximately 80 years times approximately 50 weeks. It's about 4,000. If you don't take care of yourself, you only get about 3,000 weeks. So it's not a lot of time that we have available to us to get the most out of our lives. What we really need to look at is the attitude that comes with time management. I like to refer to it as self-management, about being proactive, not reactive. And when you sit down and you start thinking about how is it that I handle my decisions, how is it that I make decisions around time, how is it that I actually develop these decision-making capabilities, it comes back to what level of discipline do you have to do the most important things, not everything, but the most important things. And it's those most important things getting done that actually creates a great time manager. Time managers are not the people that do the most. Time managers are the people that do the important things and leave out the unimportant things. So where does your discipline come from? Is your discipline an internal discipline? Are you a really strong, disciplined person? Keep yourself focused and on track? Or do you use an external form of discipline? A lot of the time when I sit down and start thinking to people about their forms of discipline, the external discipline could be a simple thing such as a diary system. It could be a simple thing as a pop-up on your phone. It could be as simple as having a personal assistant who helps keep your diary on track. It could be, there's so many very simple external, having a business coach is another one. All of these different ways of externally staying focused and staying on track with what needs to be done in your day, in your week, in your life. This is a very big part of it. So don't think of it as changing the time. Don't think of it as just, too often I find time management trainings that are just about tactics, about strategy, about, how to put this document in this place. That is a very minute part of it. 80% of the success of time management is actually self-management. 80% of it is not about the way we deal with other people. It's about the way we deal with ourselves. So let's look at accountability as a part of that. In fact, let me just go back just for a second. If I go back and say, okay, how do we actually change ourselves? Let's think about that just for a moment. Rather than worrying about changing others, rather than worrying about, changing time, how do we actually change ourselves? What do we have to do to get self-change happening? And it's that almost that attitude or that decision that really leads to it. So where are you on the decision-making around time? Do you actually even want to be on time? Do you actually even want to be doing this well? I mean, this is a very big part of how we do it. So making that decision, how do you actually make the decisions of being on track or being on time? How do you make the decisions around that fact? And how do you make the decisions around how much gets done? It's those things that we need to address. It's those things that are more important. Too often we sit down and start thinking about how do I stop the emails coming in? How do I deal with emails? How do I deal with paper? well, hang on, let's first of all look at how we make decisions around time before we worry about how we change the emails or how we stop the number of emails or that sort of stuff. So that's probably a more important aspect of what we should be looking at. Okay, so let's move on. When we sit down and start really understanding point 2 today, and I mentioned self-management, but accountability, where does that come from? How do you actually get accountability into your day? Because without accountability, we need to stay on time. Why even try and stay on time if you're not being held accountable to it? And too often we just sit back and we say, well, it doesn't really matter about being on time, and we run out of time, and therefore we end up with it. It's kind of like the kid that ends up cramming for their university test, or the kid that ends up doing the project at the last minute, or the business person that ends up developing their plan the day before they need to go to the bank, or, all of those things where we sit down with people and say, how did that end up happening? Where did that come from? Well, accountability is a major part of great time management. Without accountability, we don't have any need to manage our time. So what we need to think about is not just the day-to-day tactics, but that real attitude of where am I going to get my accountability? And the majority of the time, the best accountability actually comes from an external level of reporting and review. So if we're not reviewing our success or lack of it, if we're not reviewing our numbers, if we're not reviewing what actually has gone on, then the very basics of it say that without a report and without review of that report, we're not going to be feeling accountable. And if we're not accountable, then we're not going to be doing good with our time. So very simply put, if we don't allow ourselves to do what needs to be done to be on time and to have good time management, we're not going to do it. It's like, I think, I forget who it was that said, no one can do your push-ups for you. Well, no one can do your time management for you either. No one can actually be your time manager. You've got to actually do it for yourself. And so having the ability to stay on track with time is a very important aspect. But the reason why review and reporting is important is because then we feel like we need to be on time. If we feel like we can get away with not being on time, amazingly enough, guess what we will do? We will not be on time. And so it's a matter of saying, well, okay, how do we make sure that everyone on our team feels like they need to be on time in our environment? How do we make sure that they're going to do the right thing? That to me is sort of the big part of what transforms someone from being average at time management to being behind at time management. Being a high performer is often being as simple as having a report that you have to do on a daily or a weekly basis. Now think about this with your staff. Think about this with your team. Are they all reporting on a daily or weekly basis? If they're not reporting on a daily or weekly basis, and more specifically daily than weekly, because a lack of reporting or the less reporting they do, the less accountable they will be, and therefore the less they will feel the need to be managing their time very well. See, it's like the day before vacation. It's amazing how the day before you go on holiday, you get a massive amount of stuff done. Whereas if it's just a normal day, there will be things that will just get away from you because, well, they got away from you. Now, speaking of managing your team, one of the other great things about being a business person is that accountability and reporting and time management or even self-management can be helped because you don't have to do it all on your own. If you're in an organization and you build a team of people that can actually get the job done with you, then of course that makes your life a whole lot simpler. The challenge in this instance is that, sometimes we don't have the funds to build a whole team right up front. So we think about how do we actually do this? Where are we going to build this team? But if you know you can't do it on your own and you know you've got to build a team to be able to get more done, maybe, just maybe, you can start outsourcing. Maybe you can take a look at where else can we get resources to do this. The reality of it is that you've got to learn to do it, dump it, or delegate it. I know that's been an old time management theory for many, many years. Do it on the first touch. Answer the email on the first touch. Don't hit save as unread. Answer the email now. Even if the answer is something simple, even if the answer is just something that throws the ball back in their court, but answer it now. Do it now. The dumping of it. For many, many years, the best time management thing I ever learned around managing the number of papers or the paperwork that comes across your desk is real simple. Have a box underneath your desk that when you get a piece of paper and you go, I'm not sure if I'll need that, I'm not sure if that's something that I've got to keep on, throw it underneath the desk. Do it, dump it, or delegate it. Well, to delegate, you've actually got to have a team. If you don't have a team, how will you actually delegate what you're doing? Too often I find that people, they won't build a team, they don't build a team, and why? Because they assume it's too expensive. The reality of it is, if you look at outsourcing to start with just part-time people helping you out on some of the tasks that you do, if you look at hiring people full-time, the majority of the time what actually happens is you realize is that because of the extra time that they are there, you can actually make a lot more money. So when I sit down and look at most executives, most of them have a personal assistant or an executive assistant. Some of them have 2 or 3 of them. Why? Because it works. You've got to build that team around you that helps you with your time management. You've got to build it. I know for me, for instance, a great personal assistant that keeps me on time is one of the greatest assets that you can have. Someone who cuts it down and who makes it work for me, not someone who, just is there, but someone who actually manages my time and helps me stay on track with time. It's not a very expensive option, but it is a very profitable option. Remember, oftentimes saving a wage will cost you a fortune by, cutting costs and doing it yourself. It brings me to the simple old theory of that rich people will spend money to save time, whereas poor people will spend time to save money. And, we all know the very simple fact that if you have someone doing a job for $20 an hour and you're making $50 an hour, you've just leveraged well. You've just made extra money out of that hour. It's not such a tough concept to understand. The challenge is it seems to be a tough concept to put into practice, a tough concept to get it done. But we've got to do it. We've got to make sure that we're working towards it. And if I could very simply put it, building a team is far more profitable than what most people think. Employees are not expenses. Employees are profit centers in most businesses. So be aware of it. Hire a great team, leverage yourself out, use that team to actually use your time better than what you would have before. On to point number 4. When we go and think about time management, one of the things that I like to discuss with people is how do you value other people's time? Now, we're going to spend quite a few minutes on this because I think that it's important to understand what causes us to be bad at time management, what causes us to make time decisions the way we do. And one of the big ones is how you value your time versus how you value other people's time. If your methodology of valuation of time is that your time is more valuable than everyone else's, often you'll be late. Often you'll finish projects late. Why? Because you believe your time is more valuable. If you keep someone else waiting, you believe that's okay. Now, the thoughts that go into this, it's not the actual, the reality that you keep someone waiting is going to be the reality. But that's not what it is. We're looking at why you do it. And because most of the time when you find out why someone does that, what you'll also find out is why they're poor at managing their time. If we sit down and start thinking about what it is that has someone making themselves more valuable or thinking of themselves as more valuable than another by keeping the others waiting, and it's not someone that does it once that I'm discussing here. It's not someone that accidentally does it a few times a year. It's about the serial person that consistently keeps others waiting. I'm pretty sure if you're not that person, you will know one or two of those people. And the reality is how you value your time determines, and how you value others' time determines how well you manage your time. So if you devalue others' time, you're also in most cases devaluing your own time. So if you devalue and you're willing to keep other people waiting, then there's a pretty good chance you're also willing to stay waiting. There's a pretty good chance that you don't plan your time very well because you don't value your own time. So what have we got to do to get you to a point where you value other people's time and your own time? Because it's kind of like it's a mirrored situation. It's a double-edged sword. If you value everyone else's time, then you will value your own, and vice versa. If you value your own time, you'll often value other people's time as well. So how do we actually get someone to do that? How do we actually make better decisions around time value and our value of our own time? Well, very simply put, you've got to sit down and start working out how much of this thing called time you have and how much of it you have to so-called waste, or how much of it do you have to burn. I mean, I'm just killing time. Those sort of attitudes towards time will lead to people who are almost always bad time managers because they don't have a value for time. They don't perceive it to be worth anything. And thus, they end up with a challenge. Now, we all know as business people what our time is worth. How much per hour our time is worth is something that's pretty easy to calculate. So we know what it's worth in a dollar term. How do we know what it's worth in a relationship term? You know, you've only got to sit down and start thinking about how much would you give financially to get an hour back with someone who's no longer with you? How much would you pay to get an extra hour? Like even some people, how much would you pay to get an extra hour's sleep in the morning? You know, the value of time is something that is different to each and every one of us. The way we value it is different to each and every one of us. The reality, though, is the more you value time, obviously the less you will sleep because you want to be awake doing things. Obviously, the more you'll fit into your day, the more you'll plan your day, because if you value time, then you will be actually very meticulous in making sure you get a lot done during the day. People who don't value your time, you know they don't value their own time either. They'll be late for themselves, they'll be late for others, they'll be late on almost everything they do, and then wonder why things aren't working out for them in life. So, how do we increase your value on time? How do we get you more focused that time is extremely valuable? How do we get you sitting there thinking, you know what, I really need to stay and be in time for things so that I'm actually respecting my own time and other people's, not wasting time or killing time, as the saying goes. So A, the realization is the first part of changing anything for someone. B, then we've got to give you some strategies to actually be better at valuing your time. So let's take a look at how it is that I believe we get people being better at valuing their time. Let's start with an area that I love and I think that we need to invest some time in, and that is your dreams and goals. Now, why are dreams and goals important in a time management session? Well, the number one thing that is the problem for people with time management isn't what you do, it's how you say no to something. If you don't have the ability to say no to things, then the reality is your time management is going to be poor. Your time management is going to struggle. So the ability to say no needs a clean set of guidelines. And if we can develop those guidelines, then obviously we start to say, that's the best way or the best choice for me, rather than going in that direction. I remember many years ago reading The 1 Minute Manager and the Monkey, or even Brian Tracy's How to Eat That Frog, where you sit down and you say, okay, without a set of goals, without a set of dreams or guideposts or whatever it is you want to call them in mind, how do you work out what you're going to say yes to versus what you're going to say no to? How do you work out which things are good for your future versus which things are just, yep, they're just things and we don't really need to do that? these are some of the challenges that we're faced with on a day-to-day basis if we want to make great decisions around our time. So if we get a direction, if we know where our dreams and goals are, then we can make decisions, not only of what to do, but also of what not to do. So I want to spend a fair bit of time here on how to say no, because too often people that are struggling with time management are, well, there's the group called the people pleasers. The people pleasers really struggle with time management because how much do they say yes to? They say yes to everything. You know, any simple part or any simple activity that it has to be done, they'll say yes to. And then when they're overwhelmed and got too much to do, they'll sit there and go, oh, it's just too much to do. Well, hang on, you're the one who kept saying yes. So how do the people pleasers stop saying yes? So they don't really need to stop saying yes. They just need to ask some questions. So when someone comes to you, be it a boss, be it a customer, be it anybody, and says, hey, we need this done, can you do it right now, or can you do this? You need to start being realistic. So first things first on how to say no. Always have your diary handy. Always have your diary handy. Making sure that you are using your diary allows you the ability to say no without offending anyone. When someone asks you, you know, can you do this? Open your diary, take a look at the day. If you do have time to do it, which often means taking an estimate in your head of how many minutes or how many hours it will take to do that task, if you do have time to do it, then fine, go ahead and do it. But as I know most of you won't have time to take on the new task, you have to ask that other person one of two or three things. Firstly, if they're your boss, you've got a set of questions or a set of ideals that you have to live by, and that is basically you need to make sure your boss provides you with the value of each task that's on your list, because I'm sure they will have asked you to do some things before. I'm sure they will have asked you to help build something or do something, and therefore you've got that in your diary. So you would turn to your boss and say something along the lines of, so which is the higher priority, this one or this one? Because that will mean this one has to get pushed back and won't meet the deadline that you've already given me. You know, and in doing it that way, you're actually giving them the decision as to, well, okay, no, don't do. Actually, that thing there that's on your diary already is more important, so this one can wait until next week. Now, something along those lines will be what it is. Now, the ability to say no if it's a customer. If a customer is coming to you asking you to achieve a certain thing, asking you to achieve a certain amount, asking you to deliver, and you know you can't do it, again, have the diary handy. Then ask the customer some questions. And oftentimes, you know, when the customer is involved and they are placing demands that are either unreasonable or abnormal, you've got to ask them some questions about, well, okay, I already have several customers booked in on that day. For me to bump any of them, I would have to bill you an extra whatever. You know, you've got to give the customer a bit of a choice as to which way they want to do it. If they want to pay extra just for you to do that, then maybe that's something you can think about. Maybe it's something you can do. But you have to have the ability to say no. You have to have the ability to say no in a family scenario, the ability to say no in a business scenario. You have to have the ability to say no in a customer scenario. Because if you keep saying yes, you're going to end up losing the customer, losing the relationships, because people will have depended on you and it won't come through. So how do you have the ability to say no? Where is it that you've got the ability to say no? And I know some people on this call have a massive ability to say no. They're very quick at saying no. But, you know, others of you, you need to look at the dreams and goals you have, because then it allows you to make the decision. So the next part about making a decision is not just having your diary handy, it's also knowing and reviewing regularly your dreams and goals. So if someone comes and asks you for something that is outside of which, that doesn't take you towards your dreams, doesn't take you towards your goals, you've got to ask them, what is the real priority here? If you ask what is the real priority, and the priority is not the thing that someone is asking you to do, then be polite and say no. No is not a bad word when you're saying no to someone for a valid reason. So make sure you understand your dreams and goals. Make sure your dreams and goals are both written down or in pictures or something similar. Then you have an ability to every day go through and agree or disagree with someone around what needs doing. You have the ability to say no. Those who say yes almost always end up in a negative scenario. So what's the next phase? Once you've got your dreams and goals, you can tell someone who is proactive in time versus reactive in time simply by looking at how much they're planning, what level of planning they do. Now, by the way, this isn't about writing the 150, 200-page plan. This is about the very simplistic. Planning should start with the smallest increment, not the largest increment. Planning should start with the most basic of things, not the massive things. For instance, if I was asking you to plan a day, let's say I'm asking you to plan a meal. Your job is to cook a meal, and I'm asking you to do the plan on it. Well, there's several tools that you need to become aware of, or several tools you need to get good at in order to be able to develop a lot of good planning. The first of which is making lists. Lists are a planner's, they're just heaven to a planner, because without lists, what are you actually planning? What are you having to fit in the gaps? What actually has to be a part of it? So, for instance, if I stick with the example of cooking the meal, you would have to go through and make a list of all of the things to get from the grocery store. You know, you would have to make that list, understand that list before you took action. Yet the challenge is, for most of us, we just go to the grocery store. We don't even make the list. Using lists helps dramatically in time management. And again, the discipline that it takes to actually be self-managed, the discipline it takes is very high. And if you're not good at it, then start getting good at it, or hire someone to help you who is good at this stuff. Okay, so here you are, you've sat down, you're planning this meal, and you've made the list of everything. Then you go and get it. Well, what's next? Well, next is a very simple thing called a timeline. Now, the problem with most people's planning and timelines is that they work forward. I don't want you to work forward. I want you to work back. So if you were doing a meal, you would know what time you wanted to serve the meal. If you worked out what time you wanted to serve the meal, and then you worked backwards to get to a point of knowing, okay, I've got to do this, this, and this. The steaks are going to take 20 minutes. The vegetables will take this long. This will take this long. So I work backwards to where I have to start cooking versus working backwards to that. And this is good for every idea. It's not just good for planning a meal. This is good for planning everything. Pick the end date. As Covey said, start with the end in mind. When you start with the end in mind, you know exactly where it's going to be. Then you can be proactive in managing. If you're a reactive manager, if you're a reactive employee, if you're reactive in customer service, rather than calling the customer to inquire, is everything running fine, or calling the customer to inquire about how things are moving, if you're reactive about this stuff, it's going to cause a major challenge, because you can't manage reactive things. You can't manage your time if everything is happening reactively. The only way to manage your time well is to be proactive and plan what's going on. So get yourself more proactive by developing plans. Now, how do we do this in a day-to-day? Well, very simply put, doing checklists and timelines are great for projects. And the smaller the project, even better it is that you get at doing it. Staying with planning, if we on planning start sitting down and thinking about, okay, how do we as a planner do this? Well, it's about your day-to-day planning. And if you've ever heard me teach before, sorry, just got to go back here on this slide. If you've ever heard me teach before, what I've told you in planning is that it's about the daily plan that is more important. So at the end of each day, do you and your team write out a plan for the next day? At the end of each week, do you write out a plan for the next week? At the end of each month, do you write a plan for the next month? Now, don't go to trying to be a yearly planner. Don't go to trying to write a year-long business plan or a year-long life plan if you're not doing daily plans, if you're not doing weekly plans. Master the shortest time frame first, then move on to the next time frame, and then move on to the next time frame. That, my friends, is the simplest way I can teach you to get good at planning. Planning doesn't happen by starting with the long plan. It starts by happening with short plans and getting better and better at it, and then ultimately you get good at a 1 year, a 3 year, a 5 year, and then even a 10-year plan of where things are moving. And that's more dreams once you get out for 10 years. 5 years is sort of where it's a plan and a goal, and that's what we need to do. So hopefully what you're getting today is a picture that time management is not just about the simple little techniques. Time management is more than that. Time management is about your attitude to it. Do you have the discipline to actually do the dreams and goals? Do you have the discipline to actually put a plan in place so that you will be able to manage your time? It's very hard to manage time if you don't have dreams and goals and plans already done. All right, let's move forward. Planning leads us to a very simple thing. If we know how we want our life to be, we can actually plan our life better. See, I'm not just doing time management with you today from a business perspective. I want you to think about it, how it fits into life. Excuse me, I just take a sip of water. Categories and roles. Now, I've taught this a couple of times before, and I hope that if you haven't heard of this, that you take some really good notes. If you have, you start to get some fine distinctions, or if you have and you haven't done it, then you start to get to work on this. So categories, what are the major parts of your life? What are the things that are really high value, high importance to you? Now, it might be philanthropy, it might be family, it might be health and fitness, it might be friends and fun times, it might be business, it might be investing in wealth. You know, only you can determine the categories of your life that are important, and you should make a list of somewhere between 8 and 12. If you get more than 12, you can start to join a few of them together, or combine them so that it's easier to manage a life in that matter. So once you've got all of the categories listed, somewhere between 8 and 12, then it's time to list the roles under each of those. So like, I'll do an easy one, business. You might have several roles in business. You might be the CEO of the company. You might also be the salesperson. You might also be the marketing manager. You know, I'm not sure what your jobs are within your company, but if you've got half a dozen jobs within your own company, you would write each of them as a separate role. So, for example, in family, I know I have separate roles of being a father, of being a husband, of being a brother, of being a cousin, of being an in-law, of, all the different aspects of different relationships that I have that are all roles under the category of family for me. Actually, my category is family and friends. I like to have both of them. So the roles you play then get an understanding. Then it's time to start planning with this, and you start to divide them up into understanding, is that role something I have to do daily? Is it half a day? Is it weekly? Is it monthly, quarterly? How often is that role going to be needed to be worked on? So, for instance, for me, the role of dad is a daily role. I need to be, even when I'm traveling for business, I still need to be in communication with my children every single day. So is the role of husband. But the role of son is a weekly role. My job with my parents is to communicate with them at least weekly, to be in touch with them at least weekly. And, every one of us is different, but in managing my life, I had to sit down and do it. And here's the challenge. Once you get all of these listed down, all of the categories and all of the roles are listed down, once you've worked out how many are daily, how many are weekly, monthly, etc., what you're probably going to find is that you have way too many of these roles, and way too many of them that are daily roles or weekly roles that are just like, I don't have the time to do that every day. If I tried to do that one every single day, I'm just going to run out of time in my life. And so it's a matter of actually then prioritizing, because one of the keys, as I said before, knowing your dreams and goals, knowing your priorities, and a lot of this will be your values based on these two charts here, based on knowing what your priorities are. If we stay with the categories and roles and say, okay, if we make sure that we know which of these is the higher priority, then we can easily make the decision, well, okay, those ones have to be daily. Those ones there can go twice a week. Okay, so let's move them to twice a week. And just doing that will start to free up time in your day, free up time in your week, and therefore get you much better results. So point 8, prioritise and diarise daily. So point 8 is a very simple one. It's about the techniques we use to get great time management results. Now, I've already mentioned a couple of these to you. The box underneath the desk to put things in that, you can clear it out once a quarter or when it gets full and throw out things that you thought, oh, I might have needed that, but you don't actually end up needing it. Number 2 on this is actually checklists. Doing lists is one of the time manager's best tools. If you're not good at doing checklists, start practicing it. Start getting good at it. Have someone bouncing ideas around with you where you actually practice getting good at making checklists or making lists of things to see that it all gets done. Number 3 on this is our timelines. Remember, with timelines, work backwards though. Don't work forward. Set the date when it needs to be finished or the time it needs to be finished and work yourself backwards. Prioritising and diarising. Look, this is a very simple aspect of what we do. So once you have your list, you prioritise. Once you have your list, you just A, B, and C it. And this is in every time management course ever, I'm pretty sure. And it's not that tough to do, but it takes the discipline which comes from all the other 7 points together. It takes that discipline to actually do the time management things. By the way, if you haven't already, please type in your questions, put them in the chat box or put them in the questions box. The questions box would probably be the easiest one if you click on that and then just start typing away your questions. I will have a few minutes to get the questions towards the end of the hour. So yeah, once you've prioritised, then you've not only got to work out the A, B's and C's, you work out the A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. About 5 is as many A's as you should have, about 5 is as many B's as you should have, and so on. Once you've got those things into place, then you can absolutely make a difference in that because you then put them into the diary with time allocated. So if you work out the project A1 is going to take 25 minutes, you put it into the diary tomorrow, it's A1, I'm going to do that at 8:30 till 8:55. So that's basically what you do with it. Next point on prioritise and diarise daily. Don't put appointments in for 1 hour unless they are 1 hour. I know for me, my assistant will book most of my appointments in 20-minute increments so that when I'm talking with people, I get on the phone to them, or she's already told them actually, look, Brad, we'll only have 20 minutes with you. Please make sure you're prepared for the meeting, blah, 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 everything's there. If there's anything you want Brad to have read before the meeting, please send it through now. But I book a 20-minute session with people because any more than that, and we just start to waste our time. If you want to get down to it and you want to get it done real quick, then you put in a 20-minute time frame rather than a 60-minute time frame. The 60-minute time frame is a killer for most people's productivity. We just see it time and time again where that's a very hard thing to do, is to get good at time management if you're doing 60-minute tasks all the time. Tasks take 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. Put it in your diary for that period of time. Don't put it in your diary for the entire hour. Just put it in for that small amount of time that it's going to actually take. Next point for simple time management techniques. I mentioned it earlier, the one-touch system. An email, it can't be closed unless it's had a reply. A piece of paper, unless you do something with it, it goes under the bench in the desk, in the box or in the trash can, either way. But you've got to get ready for the one-touch system. Next one. Work out who are the 5 people that are the biggest time wasters in your week, in your day, in your life. Who are the 5 people that take up the most of your time at work? And I'm not talking about, family where you get to hang with them and have dinner and it's good times. I'm talking about at work. Who are the 5 people that actually take most of your time? work out why they're doing it, work out a system to fix that, work out a methodology to fix it. You know, if there's no simple solution to it, then you'll keep doing what you're doing now. So find a simple solution to it. Find an easy way to make sure that they can get theirs done and you can get your job done. But if you've got those 5. Next one, 5 to 5 activities that are your biggest time consumers. So simply for the next 2 weeks, keep a log of what you do all day, every day. Keep a log of exactly what you did in 5-minute increments. Kind of like you're a lawyer and you have to keep their 6-minute increments logbook. If you've got a simple book or a simple notepad where you can keep an idea of what you do every day, then you'll easily find the 5 time wasters. But you'll also find the 5 activities that take the majority of your time that need a system or need something to happen in order for them to take less of your time. The moment I find business owners finding out the 5 things that take most of their time during the week, you know, I found one business owner and the majority of his time was spent answering the telephone to customers. Well, hang on a sec, is that the highest and best use of your time? Absolutely not, it was not. So we had to move that and change it and systematize the way the phone was answered so that we could actually prioritize his day into doing the things that he could only do. No one else could do those things. So, you know, it's up to each and every one of us to work out how to do that. So how do we get this stuff implemented? Well, let's start taking a look at, in fact, we'll get to your questions in just a moment. Let's take a look at what it is that gets this stuff into practice. It's not rocket science. It really isn't. It's about just doing what you need to do. I put this photo up of young Bethany and Nick because here's 2 people that shouldn't be having all of the abilities in the world, that shouldn't be killing it out there, but they are. You know, what are they doing? Well, what can you do? Let's take a look at some of the things that we started the day with, and let's see how they ended up. Every single time I sit here and say, can you find more hours in your day? Absolutely, people can. There's no 2 ways about that one. There's no, in fact, all of these, if we sit down and just read through all of them, you can't help but say, well, if I actually really focused on time management, how much better would my time be? How much would I, you know, use my time well? So that's a very important aspect of it. If we move on and say, okay, time management is an attitude. Time management is getting our mind in the right place. How do you get your mind in the right place? What does it take to implement everything that's in here? How do we actually get this stuff moving is a very important aspect of it. And well, to put it real bluntly, I invented a business school for you. It's the most cost-effective, time-effective business school on the planet. How come? It's online. You can watch the videos whenever you want. All of the first parts of the business school that are used to train your staff, there are 84 of those videos, then they're all approximately 10 minutes long. So 84 10-minute training videos for you and your staff. How good a use of time is that? Then we take a look at the webinars. There are 11 webinars that is your business school. These are 1 hour apiece webinars with homework, all about life, about wealth, the billionaire in training, how you can buy, build, and sell companies is the next one. What you should look for to multiply your profit, how to actually get your marketing and sales as machines, not just marketing sales that kind of work every now and again, but all 11 of these webinars from how to retain great customers, how to lead great employees. This is all designed for you. This is your business school, and it's $97 if you want just the 84 videos to train your staff. You'll learn from them as well. But it's $397 if you want the business school for you, all of the webinars included. Or you can come in and say, all right, I actually want to go the full lifetime kit on this. If you decide in the next 8 minutes with the lifetime membership, I'm going to throw in all of my video training programs all online for you just to watch. All of these videos, they're yours. So you can start with us anywhere you like on this. Then you look at the audio programs that we have. The value on these is, I mean, you can put a dollar value on them, but it's irreplaceable when you sit down and start thinking of how much value there is in my entrepreneur's training. By the way, if you haven't typed in a question, please do so. I'll be getting them in about 1.5 minutes' time. You'll notice I'm very specific in timing. Why? Because that's a part of making sure you're a good time manager. All of the audio programs that we have in this series, there are so many of them. You can sit in your car, you can put these and just listen to it time and time again. Anywhere where you've got the internet, you can be on listening to these. Anywhere where you've got the way to actually learn, it's yours. As a business school goes, now a lot of these you can share with your team, a lot of these you can share with business partners because they're very valuable at that level. Obviously, you want your team to learn the parts that they need to learn, and you need to learn the parts about growing a business that they don't need. So the webinar offer, just type that in. In fact, I'll get Eve to put a link for you in the in your GoToWebinar system. So Eve, can you just punch that link in for everyone in their GoToWebinar system? You've got 7 minutes now to actually make a decision on this one. So all you need to do is go to that website, bradsugarsprofitmasters.com/webinar offer. If you go into that webinar offer, you will actually see, in fact, I'll pull up the website here and I'll show it to you. This is the website that we actually will send you to. You can click the link now. It's sitting in the chat window of your GoTo seminar. This is the simple page. $97 is the starting point. $990 if you want lifetime access. Literally, there are thousands of ebooks and business tools and articles to be downloaded on that website. It's not rocket science. It's very easy for you to use. But I would highly suggest, we have literally thousands of people that have been through our online business school. And I think that having a business school that's close by is very powerful. Just a few of the other benefits. Let me pull back up to the PowerPoint here. Just a few of the other benefits, and then I'll start going through all of the questions for you. You'll see that actually, if you decide in the next 6 minutes, I will not only get you all of that stuff for free, but I'll also go and put together a coaching session for you and have one of my coaches invest an hour. In fact, my guarantee, let me show you the guarantee I'm willing to give you. I'm going to give you a 200% guarantee. It's pretty simple. If you are unhappy with the Profit Master, if you're unhappy with the Profit Master system in any way, shape, or form, I will give you back your money and you get to keep it all for free. So it's pretty simple. If you want to keep it all for free, in fact, it was pointed out to me by one of the customers the other day that he said, well, hang on, Brad, that means if I put it on my credit card and I don't love it, I can just go back and say, please give me my money back before I've even had to outlay any money. Absolutely. If you sit down and take a look at it, this guarantee is yours. It's there. You can make sure that you love everything in there before you do it. In fact, try one of the lower ends. If you don't love it, then you don't have to upgrade. If you want to upgrade, do that. I'm happy either way. I think the best value for money is the lifetime one. Why? Because then you can train all of your staff, train yourself, be at the business school, and you've got it all very simply put for one-time fee. My coach will come and work. Let's start getting to the questions while I show you some of the other bonuses that we're going to give you. Questions, let me answer away with as many of these as I can possibly get to. Okay, so if you've got tasks you don't like doing, how do you motivate yourself to do those tasks? I'll tell you a quick story. I once heard of, I still have a good friend who literally became an Olympic weightlifter. In becoming an Olympic weightlifter, he changed coaches before he got to the Olympics. And the coach he went to, the new coach, said to him, what do you not like? And he said, I hate doing squats. And the new coach said, well, until you love doing squats, you're not going to be a successful weightlifter. Very simply, when you put it down as to what is it that I don't enjoy, you've got to learn to enjoy that in business. Or you do have another option in business. It's called employ someone who loves doing that stuff. For me personally, I don't really enjoy the reading all of the legal documents, but my lawyers, they love doing that stuff. So when I employed Rosalie, for example, she's a genius at doing it. She loves doing it. Me, I'd prefer not to ever do it. So that's one thing. Do I motivate myself to do those things? Yes. Why? Because I have real clear dreams and goals. I know what my dreams are. I know what my goals are. I know that my plans will get me there. And if the plan says I've got to do something on this day, that means that will get done. then absolutely I'll get the results that I want because I'm willing to take it and do the work that it is. How can you manage calls, etc., for example, means you'll be available at all times? Okay, I have two simple strategies for this. Number one, emails. Let's deal with that. Emails, I don't answer emails when they come in. I answer them 3 times a day. That's it. I have 3 sessions a day where I'll go and answer emails. Other than that, I'm not going to answer emails. Phone calls, oftentimes if I am busy and I want to get some work done, I will let my assistant know, tell everybody that I am with someone right now because I have a meeting and I have to get it done. Now, the meeting is the meeting with myself, but you've got to be able to do that. You've got to block out time to get the thing. One of you said don't check email till the afternoon. I check it 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night. It's simple. The reason people say don't check it till the afternoon is it's easy distraction, and you can actually get lost in emails all day if you wanted to. That's a very simple part of getting this stuff done. How do you get adults that work for you to do this daily list? Well, pretty simple. If they work for me, then they're going to do the list because that's what I've told them to do. The thing is, if you've got employees in your company who don't want to do what you want them to do, then maybe those employees don't need to be in your company anymore. It's not, I guess that's not a rocket science situation or not a great advice, but it's the only advice there is that, software developer for several clients, and it's hard to say no if a client want to upgrade their program. Well, I have another project. How can I explain to a client that I still do their project because they pay me monthly? Well, what you've got to do is reset their expectations. If they want to do something, that's fine. You've just got to let them know in advance. See, clients are very happy with what they get as long as they know what to expect. The challenge is sometimes we bend over backwards for a client and then they believe that that is now the standard and that's the way things should run forever. Well, my reality is that we've got to educate clients. If I go out of my way for a client, I make sure they know I've gone out of my way for them, and I make sure they know how to, that in future it'll go back to the other way. Let me just show you once and for all. Here is what's going on in my business program, my Profit Masters Business School, the entire list of things that you'll get if you join us today. Please, there's only 1 minute left for you to jump on there and take advantage of all of those offers. bradsugarsprofitmasters.com/webinar offer. That way you can get all of the offers. It's simple, it's easy. I'd love you to join us on our business school, so much so that I'll take the risk and I'll give you a 200% guarantee. You can have your money back if you don't love it, and you get to keep all the stuff you've got. So it's your choice. I make it easy for you. I'm actually going to make it even easier. I'm going to get Eve to give you some gifts at the end of today. And if your question wasn't answered, please stay on the line. One of the team will get to your questions at some point in time. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Look forward to seeing much better time management. Bye for now.
Thank you, Brad, for these great strategies on time management. This is Eve Fabros, and I want to thank you all for attending today's webinar. We hope you did learn some brand new strategies from Brad that you can start implementing in your business today. For everyone who attended today's webinar, please stay on the lookout for your Profit Masters webinar login to go ahead and access your free gifts from Brad. We will be emailing that login to you within the next 48 hours. These gifts include a 10 Business Basics video, and these are the first 10 videos in the Business Basics membership of 83 total videos that Brad outlined for $97. You will also get a free business health check to see how healthy your business is and to look at areas that need work. And you'll also have access to 3 of Action Coach's most popular ebooks. And again, all these gifts will be accessible to you via a Profit Masters free webinar login that will be emailed to you within 48 hours. And now that you've learned how to better manage your time in today's webinar, continue learning from Brad and take advantage of Brad's special webinar offers using the link that I've posted in your chat box. Again, it's bradsugarsprofitmasters.com/webinar offer. And as Brad said, your purchase is 100% guaranteed. We know you'll find any of these Profit Masters memberships an invaluable investment to you and your business. And if you're not completely satisfied, just request a refund within 15 days of your purchase, and we will get that refund back to you right away. And again, within the next 24 hours, we will be sending everybody a replay. If you came on late or if you want to rewatch it and share with your team, you will get that email coming to you soon. And thank you all again for attending, and make it a great day.